Long before pharaohs ruled the Nile, Egypt was believed to be ruled by gods. Among them stood Osiris, a noble and just king, who brought laws, agriculture, and civilization to the people. Under his rule, Egypt flourished, and balance reigned. But Osiris's brother, Set, god of chaos and storms, watched with envy. Where Osiris brought order, Set thrived on destruction. Deep inside his heart grew resentment, festering like a poison. At Osiris's side stood Isis, his queen and sister. She was the goddess of magic, wisdom, and devotion. She adored her husband and vowed to protect both him and Egypt at all costs. Set devised a plan to take the throne. He invited Osiris to a grand feast and brought with him a magnificent coffin, crafted to Osiris's exact size, gilded with gold and precious stones. At the feast, Set declared, "Whoever fits perfectly inside this coffin shall have it as a gift." One by one, the guests tried and failed. But when Osiris lay down, it was clear the coffin was made for him. In a flash, Set and his allies slammed the lid shut, sealing Osiris inside. They fastened it with molten lead and flung it into the Nile. Egypt's beloved king was gone. The coffin drifted down the Nile, carried by the current. All of Egypt wept, crops withered, and the land turned dry. Without Osiris, the balance of life began to collapse. Isis, heartbroken but unbroken, swore to find her husband's body. She roamed Egypt and beyond, guided by magic, her tears falling into the Nile like sacred pearls. After a long search, Isis discovered the coffin lodged inside a tamarisk tree in the city of Byblos. The tree had grown tall around it, its branches encasing her husband's remains. Disguising herself as a humble nurse, Isis entered the court of Byblos's king. Her wisdom and healing powers impressed the queen, who trusted her. At last, Isis revealed her true identity and begged for the coffin. The coffin was returned, and Osiris's body was brought back to Egypt. Isis wept over him, her magic preparing him for resurrection. But Set was furious to find Osiris's body returned. He hunted it down, hacked it into 14 pieces, and scattered them across Egypt, each part hidden in desert, swamp, or river. Isis, with her sister Nephthys, began the sorrowful search again. Piece by piece, they gathered Osiris's remains, each site becoming sacred ground, each shrine a place of worship. But one piece was never found, Osiris's phallus, devoured by the Nile fish. Still, Isis would not give up. She used her magic to create a replacement, ensuring her husband could be whole again. Through divine magic, Isis conceived a child from Osiris. That child was Horus, destined to avenge his father and reclaim Egypt from Set. Osiris, though incomplete, was resurrected not among the living, but as lord of the underworld. He became ruler of the Duat, guiding souls and judging the dead. Horus grew in secret, hidden from Set's wrath. Trained by Isis and protected by divine magic, he became a falcon-headed warrior, the embodiment of kingship and vengeance. The battles between Horus and Set shook the heavens. For 80 years, they fought across deserts, rivers, and skies, chaos against order, uncle against nephew. The gods assembled in judgment, unsure who should rule Egypt. Some favored Set's strength, others Horus's justice. The debate raged as fiercely as the battles themselves. In one contest, Horus and Set transformed into hippopotamuses and fought beneath the waters of the papyrus swamp for days. Isis, desperate, cast a harpoon, but mistakenly struck her son. Angered, Horus struck Isis for interfering, rejecting her aid. The gods recoiled, shocked by the violence between mother and son. Set exploited every trick. In one tale, he blinded Horus by stealing his eyes. But Thoth, god of wisdom, restored them, giving birth to the Eye of Horus, an eternal symbol of protection. At last, the gods ruled in Horus's favor. Set was cast into the desert, embodying chaos but stripped of kingship. Horus took his place as pharaoh of Egypt, uniting the land, restoring balance, and honoring his father Osiris. Kings for generations claimed descent from him, wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. Though no longer among the living, Osiris's reign continued in the underworld. He judged the souls of the dead, weighing hearts against the feather of Maut, deciding their eternal fate. Egyptians believed that to be judged by Osiris was to find either paradise in the field of reeds or torment in eternal darkness. He was the gatekeeper, the eternal king of death. Across Egypt, temples rose to Osiris and Isis. Pilgrims came from across the Nile to honor their gods, reenacting the myth in sacred rituals that shaped Egyptian religion for millennia. The death and resurrection of Osiris were performed annually in passion plays, where priests acted out his murder, dismemberment, and rebirth, reminding Egyptians of the eternal cycle of life and death. Artists depicted Osiris with green skin, symbolizing rebirth and fertility, wrapped in mummy bandages, crowned with the artef, a tall white crown flanked by ostrich feathers. Isis was remembered as the grieving wife, whose tears filled the Nile. Her devotion made her one of the most beloved deities, worshipped as the goddess of motherhood, magic, and protection. Horus soared as the falcon god, his unblinking eyes watching over pharaohs. The Eye of Horus became amulets worn for safety, health, and prosperity. Set was demonized in later years, painted as the red god of deserts, storms, and foreigners. Yet even in exile, he remained part of the balance, for chaos could never be destroyed. Every site tied to the myth became sacred, Abydos for Osiris's tomb, Philae for Isis, and Edfu for Horus. Pilgrims traced the god's journey across the land. The myth of Osiris spread beyond Egypt, influencing Greek, Roman, and later even Christian thought. Resurrection, judgment, and eternal life echoed through centuries of faith. For Egyptians, the myth was not just a story, it was a cosmic truth. Osiris's death mirrored the flooding of the Nile, his rebirth echoed the harvest, Horus's triumph ensured kingship endured. The ritual of weighing the heart came from Osiris's judgment. Only a heart as light as Maut's feather could enter paradise. Every Egyptian lived with this destiny in mind. The Osiris myth answered the greatest human questions: why do we die? What lies beyond? It promised not despair, but renewal, if balance and justice were upheld. Pharaohs invoked Osiris and Horus to legitimize their rule. Each king became Horus on earth, and upon death, Osiris in the afterlife. The myth bound religion and politics together. Isis's magic endured, worshipped far beyond Egypt. Her temples stretched across the Mediterranean, and her name was whispered as the archetype of the eternal mother. Even after Egypt fell, the Osiris myth survived in stories, symbols, and sacred art. It became part of humanity's shared heritage of myth and mystery. The myth taught that life, death, and rebirth were inseparable. From the flooded Nile to the setting sun, everything followed the path of Osiris. Despite chaos, despite betrayal, balance was always restored. Osiris's resurrection and Horus's victory proved that order would always rise again. No god captured human imagination like Osiris, the god who died yet lived, who reigned in death and brought hope to the living. The myth of Osiris was not just a tale of gods, it was Egypt itself, written in its temples, fields, and stars. Osiris endures still, in memory, art, and faith. His journey remains a timeless reminder that even in death, there can be renewal, and in every ending, a new beginning. And so ends the tale of Osiris, the god who died, yet lived. A story of betrayal, love, vengeance, and rebirth that shaped not just ancient Egypt, but the very way humanity has come to understand life and death. His myth was written in temples, carved into stone, and carried on the waters of the Nile. It is a reminder that even in destruction, there is renewal. And in every ending, the seed of a beginning. If this story spoke to you, imagine the countless others hidden in the shadows of history, waiting to be unsealed. Join us again as we uncover the forgotten, the mystical, and the legendary. This has been History Unhidden. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, so you never miss the next journey into the past.